Beautiful.
We're going to go into the next segment, of course. We're going to talk health. And Dr. Kelvin Owusu, he will not be giving us liquor in a teacup, though. But it's all
I hope not. It's not even 10 a.m.
We'll be talking about dandruff today, all right? So all you need to know about dandruff. Dr. Kelvin Owusu, he's right here with us. Hi, Dr. Kelvin.
Yeah, that's quite a buzzkill after such a performance.
I know, right?
Dandruff, what Dandruff is saying?
I know, right? Well, does liquor in a teacup help?
Well, it takes away the H.
The H,
But,
yeah.
I mean, Doc, dandruff,
Yes.
it's something that a lot of people have dealt with, a lot of people are dealing with, but a lot of people don't even know it's a medical condition. Yesterday, you know, Angela, who, you know, is a member of the production team of this show, said, oh, she didn't know it's a medical condition. And I said, yeah, but, you know, doctors are mechanics for human beings.
Yeah.
So anything
Yeah.
that has to do with us is a medical condition, more or less. But
I mean, yeah, it's that common. I mean, I can't think of anybody who has never experienced dandruff before. I mean, if you are such a person, I mean, I think you need to, you know, let us in on some secret remedies that you are using. Yeah. It's pretty widespread, and interestingly, men suffer more than women. Yes.
Okay.
ah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I mean, it's more of a man problem than a woman problem.
I see.
I mean, the women who tend to suffer dandruff for the most part is because of how they keep their hair.
Okay.
You know, because they tend to have the hairstyles and they don't want to, you know, mess it up with washing and all those things. So it tends to then, you know, have the dandruff coming into the mix. But most of the time, it's actually men who suffer it. And then, I mean, we'll talk about the reasons why a bit later on. You know, but dandruff basically refers to the whitish, flaky substances that, you know, come in the hair, in the hair, mostly typically the scalp of people. You know, you can also sometimes find it in your eyebrows. You may find it even in your beard occasionally, and it might also be found in the pubic hair area. Okay. It's not too common. Or I mean, what I should say is that there are other things that causes more problems in the pubic area than just dandruff. Okay. You know, but yes, it does happen there every now and then. I see. And yes, like I mentioned, almost everybody has had an experience with dandruff at some point. But I must add that it is not an infection, or it is not contagious. That's what I should say. It's not contagious. You know, and I must stress this because sometimes you go to a barber, you know, to cut your hair, and typically because there is a guy issue, you know, and then they notice dandruff, and then suddenly everybody looking at you weird. They are not asking you, you bring your own clippers. But by the time you are seeing the dandruff, it's probably too late. You've already cut half the hair away anyway. You know, so it's not contagious. So that's something that we need to put out there so that everybody's aware. You know, that it's something that would happen naturally, I should say.
Why do people get dandruff?
There's so many reasons, and in fact, as a doctor, dandruff is one of those things that it's actually quite annoying talking about the causes, and you understand pretty shortly. So, exposure to excessive sun can cause dandruff.
Oh, but then this one day we've lost the battle.
But wait, if you cover the hair too, you can get dandruff. Oh, God. So then, you know, so sun exposure causes it, covering the hair causes it, washing the hair too much causes it, not washing the hair enough causes it.
Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
you know, so it's one of those things that is a bit it's a mixed bag of a lot of things that can cause dandruff. Some people are naturally predisposed to dandruff, you know, by the nature of their skin. Typically, people with oily skin tend to have more dandruff, which is also a miss. I don't know how to call it. It's something that is a confusing point because you'd have thought that people with drier scalp should have dandruff. But having said that, people with dry scalp also have dandruff.
Oh, Lord. Well, that explains a lot because I have oily skin and I tend to battle with dandruff.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
It doesn't make sense. Why?
My point exactly. It's one of those things that it's all over the place when it comes to the causes. However, there are also people or persons who are predisposed to, or persons who are dealing with other forms of dermatitis, also tend to have dandruff as part of the what's called the symptoms. In fact, dandruff medically is actually called seborrheic dermatitis. You know, so it's one of the classic features of seborrheic dermatitis. Okay.
But Doc, what is dermatitis for anyone who doesn't know what it is? I mean, I hear derma, I hear skin.
Yes.
Itis, I hear inflammation. You know,
hey, did I say inflation?
Yeah, some kind of inflation.
But breaking it down, what does it mean?
I mean, you are right. So dermatitis simply refers to inflammation of the skin. Now, there are so many different reasons or causes for this inflammation of the skin. Inflammation is the body's reaction to an insult. Any insult refers to anything that the body does not like. So it could be an infection, it could be trauma, it could be an autoimmune thing that's going on. You know, so when this infection or whatever trauma or anything that is noxious to the skin is going on, then the skin responds by a process of inflammation, try and contain it. You know, but in this case, it tends to overdo it. You know, so the person now has the condition even when there may not even be a trigger that can be identified. Okay. You know, so there are people dealing with all sorts of skin issues. So we have the psoriasis, we have the seborrheic dermatitis, like I mentioned, we have atopic or atopic dermatitis. You know, there's also chemical dermatitis. Some people even react to the cloth, certain materials. You know, and speaking of which, if you go back to dandruff, if you cover your hair, like I mentioned, you're at risk, but you are more at risk if you use artificial material to cover your hair. So if you are going to cover your hair, it might as well be something made of natural, say cotton or wool, you know. But if you're going to be using any artificial thing to cover your hair, your risk goes up.
So any kind of synthetic scarf or anything can. So then, for people who use extensions a lot, so if you're using more of the, of course, you know, we have human hair, you know, all that, percentages, we won't get into that.
Yes.
But if you use synthetic extensions, that could also...
it could definitely predispose you to getting dandruff.
So your hair could be giving you dandruff.
Yes,
I'm just saying.
Yes. And the treatment
you could be
of
buying
the hair,
dandruff.
Yes, you can. I mean, you can. And the treatment of the hair. So I mean, some hair creams or hair treatments also cause dandruff. You know. So the thing is, it's not a one size fits all. Like I can't tell you that you should use this cream and it will not give you dandruff. Everybody is sort of different. You know, so if you have to be observant and know what makes your dandruff come in the sense of the word. Now, the reason why I suspect that men are more at risk of dandruff is because they tend to do a lot more of the outside work, a lot more of the dirty work, because dirt also predisposes to dandruff. You know, so if your hair is you are receiving a lot of dirt into your hair, dust, dirt, whatever, it sort of gives you dandruff. And then there's also something interesting about dandruff. You know, one of the symptoms is itching.
Yes.
Interestingly, if you scratch this itch, you worsen the dandruff.
Yes, that I can attest to. That I can attest to.
Yes, so it's kind of similar to, I don't know if you're aware of the runner's itch. You know, when you haven't jogged for a long time and you start jogging, there's this itch that comes, and if you actually scratch that itch, it gets worse.
Yeah.
So dandruff is similar to that in this regard. So when you have the urge to scratch, don't
resist it.
Yes, you have to. I mean, it's difficult, but you have to resist it, because once you begin to scratch it, you are going to introduce more dirt into the mix, and dirt already causes the dandruff to aggravate. So you're going to introduce more dirt, and the scratching action itself also makes the dandruff feel like, yeah, the guy is enjoying me, so let me come out some more. Wow. You know, so it's one of those uncomfortable things that you must try not to interfere. You know. Of course, generally, dandruff takes care of itself. I mean, most of the time, we don't need to do much about it. You know, when you realize you have dandruff, you wash the hair, you know, most of the time it takes care of it, because most of our creams and soaps have some capacity to deal with dandruff, you know. But sometimes it can get a bit out of hand, and like I said, especially in the case where it's related to one form of dermatitis or another, and you may actually need to report to the hospital. I mean, if you've done everything, you've tried all the home remedies and the pharmacy remedies and it's not helping, you need to see a dermatologist, because it's really something that can be embarrassing for people. I mean, imagine you're at a meeting and then you inadvertently touch your hair and then things start falling out.
It starts raining.
You know, so even though it may not be contagious, it doesn't make it appealing or sightly either. So you definitely want to do something about it.
Yeah. Wow. So Doc, does it not mean then that people who handle our hair and our scalps in their everyday business, and I'm talking about hairstylists, you know, barbers, should they not be trained to deal with dandruff as a condition?
Well, I think at least in my experience, a lot of them are actually aware of some of the home remedies, you know. So I mean, they would directly recommend, okay, so you can try this, you can try that, or this, that. I mean, I remember, I like I said, everybody has issue with dandruff. One of the earliest encounters I had was actually a barber that pointed me to, okay, use this particular cream and it will help. And indeed, it actually did help. You know, this was before medical school, so at least now I also have information, you know. But my first encounter was actually a barber that pointed me, okay, so try this or try that, and it did help a lot. You know, so by and by, a lot of them are aware of some of these things. The only misconception they may have is that they think it's a contagious thing. You know, so that's where they may treat you a bit differently, but really it's not contagious. So it doesn't also mean that because it's not contagious you should share. It doesn't mean you should share hair accessories or, you know, clippers and things like that. Not really.
So what would be your first port of call in terms of treating or advising someone on treatment? Okay,
so you mean me as a medic?
Yes, as a medic.
Well, I mean, if you come to me as a medic, I'd like to find out, I mean, why have you come? Because not everybody with dandruff has come to me in the first place. So if you're coming to me, it must mean that there's something else going on, you know, that's making you want a professional attention on this matter. You know, so if you tell me that, okay, I've tried this, I've tried that, it's been bothering me, it's so bad. I mean, you see, sometimes it's so bad that you don't even have to look far. You can actually see the dandruff right there.
In the hair.
Yes, in the hair. And then also, oftentimes, dandruff tend to go with lice. You know, especially if it's that bad. So you may actually, if you do an examination, you might actually exactly you can actually see dandruff falling on somebody's shirts and all of that. Quite unsightly. You know, this is quite severe. I mean, the previous image was quite severe. You know, so you can see the dandruff actually climbing up all over the place, and it's because as your hair, you move your hair, your braids, you know, it's picking the flakes. Yeah, this one is a bit, it looks a bit severe, but I can actually tell that this hair, it doesn't get much treatment. You know,
even the hair itself.
The hair itself doesn't get much treatment, and that can definitely predispose, because you see, if the scalp is not getting enough cleaning, enough sunlight, even though exposure to too much sunlight can also cause it, but if you don't get sunlight at all, you're also at risk of developing it, you know. So it's a whole mixed bag of causes. That's what makes it also a bit difficult for people to treat it, you know, because like when you wear hats, you're getting it. When you take off the hat, you're getting it. So what do you do? You know, there are people, and let me also add, there are people who even have who have taken off all the hair and they still deal with it. You know, so it's everybody needs to know what triggers my dandruff. Dandruff is one of those things you have to own so that you can deal with it for yourself.
And you say it's a lot of the times it goes away by itself.
A lot of the time.
But what about the typical home remedies? You know.
Oh, well, I mean, interestingly, even baking soda can be used as a home remedy. You know, baking soda. Yeah, baking soda can be used as a home remedy. And then, I mean, our good old African black soap or alatasamina. But you see, the challenge with alatasamina is that there's no standard. So you don't know what component in there, because I can use alatasamina, this one, and it doesn't help. I use that one and it's helping. So it makes it difficult to recommend it.
But I must say that, and this is one of the reasons why, let me say, this is Ghana is important. This is Ghana exhibition is important. It exposes companies, a lot of local business women and men now who are producing cosmetics for us, you know, for our peculiar challenges. So myself, for example, my shampoos are alatasamna based, and these have gone through the FDA approval and everything, so it's the right amount. We know what it's supposed to be, what it's not supposed to be, and then it's fortified with other things. That's how I've been able to manage my dandruff. My conditioners, my shampoos, they're alatasamna based.
And I mean, sulfur-based shampoos or creams also help with this dandruff as well.
Fantastic. Dr. Kelvin, thank you very much. And where can people get in touch with you if you want to reach out to you?
I'm active on social media, Kelvin Owusu MD, on all channels. And you can also follow our clinic page, Claron Health International, and you get the help that you need.
Fantastic. Dr. Kelvin is the head of occupational health and wellness at the Claron Health International. You can reach out to him on social media. As he said, he's very active over there. All right. Well, let's talk about speaking of hair
and scalps and dandruff.
And all that goes on in there. The second episode of the series, The Hairdressers, comes on your screen tomorrow evening, and 7:30. You don't want to miss it. Here's a trailer. Take a look.